Thich Nhat Hanh is a very famous Buddhist master, a thought leader, very, very popular in California. And I found this article online and I was stunned because it is all the most important aspects of the Buddhist perspective of love, which is non-attachment, but not in the way we in the West think about it. So we in the West are very, very, very limited in our understanding of love. We don't have the understanding of lifetime after lifetime, which is a common reality in the East. And so therefore we don't have this idea that we can evolve and evolve and evolve and evolve. But having lived in Asia for as long as I did, that's more normal to me. So I've been perfecting in my own life and teaching many of my clients the basic principles of the art of letting go as the deepest form of love for decades. And so this article is a remarkable way to share it with all of you. And so if this is exciting to you, please email me and I will send you the article. And of course, I'd love to hear any questions that you have.
Oh boy, now, here we go. I know that this article is indeed about letting go, and it actually talks about loving more than you have ever loved before. And it's there. And so this kind of makes my brain kind of start to smoke, and it's two opposite ideas. And so, Susan, I really need you to really explain this and how we can go without any sign of possessiveness at all.
Well, they say that the great trick is to be able to hold two conflicting concepts in your mind at the same time. So that is what we're talking about. So on the one hand, you love deeply. You feel rapturous when you think of this beloved. This beloved is the light of your life. There's no aloofness to protect yourself. There's no disconnection, even if things aren't going well. Why? First of all, because that's not love. Secondly, it doesn't work. So what's so amazing about this article, it's not just a spiritual path that we are on here. It actually describes what works. So if you think about what you need in a loving relationship, what you need in a partner, then everything that I'm speaking about tonight is going to be that. If you think about what's easy to do, no, this is not easy to do. Because again, you have to hold two opposite and opposing concepts simultaneously in your mind, and you have to be able to move back and forth as needed from one concept of deeply loving and adoring the beloved to the other concept, not grasping, not holding on, not demanding, none of the things that in the West are considered to be normal. But they don't work, and our divorce rate is more than 60%. So if you value yourself, if you value your life, you want to learn from this.
So what about a relationship where the woman really wants to get married, or let's say she's looking for a husband? How does letting go and loving really affect this?
You see so many young women who are only listening to their biological clock and not to the partner. Or they're just listening to the biological clock and they're just looking for low-hanging fruit on the tree, picking off the first person who's willing to be the baby daddy. Well, that obviously is not love. So this is an example of looking at love without personal gain, without looking at your own preferred outcomes. If it works for both of you, it works. If it works for one of you, it doesn't work. And if you don't want to be that woman who is a single parent, who's divorced, or who had a hideous situation because she was forcing her husband into more children, which is another common theme. So if you don't want any of that, then this show is for you. This article is for you. So love means looking at your joint needs, co-creating the relationship together, and never attempting to make it about your personal gains and your preferred outcome, because that's forcing it. And that's not your partner. If you have to ram it down somebody's throat, that's not your partner. You can encourage, you can motivate, no ramming.
I like that. That seems like that flow can be there, and I know you can help people that maybe find that challenging. So I know, Susan, that there are 4 forms of complete detachment, which I know aren't really about detachment in the way we normally think of it. And please give us some clarity about that.
Well, I love the language that Thich Nhat Hanh used. He said, so detachment is not about holing up in a cave. It's not about ignoring everyone who's broken your heart. It's not about ignoring lust. And it's not about avoiding romance. Those are not detachment, those are just fear. So most of us have been there, where it's just too painful to think about going into that situation again. You know, and I certainly spent the last 13 years deciding, oh, well, I'm just going to devote myself to serving humanity. I'm going to serve humanity, and I'm going to, you know, stop all the personal priorities that I had. And to some degree, I was serious about that. And to some degree, I was on the right track. And to some degree, there was pain and fear. And you guys who know my story know, well, okay, that's perfectly normal. So I kept working on it, and I kept working on it, and I kept working on it. And thanks to a very dear friend, I came out the other side. Who knew?
There we go, a little self-discovery about Susan.
Who knew?
Oh, what a journey we're all on. Now, how can letting go, or actually, let's say, letting go, diving in, they're just opposite ideas. And again, my brain is getting a little crazy.
Smoke coming out of yours. I can see it. I can see it. So he explains that letting go doesn't mean what we think it means in the West. So if you're having trouble with the term letting go, don't call it that. Just call it consciousness. Because if you're grabbing somebody, that doesn't work. So if you've been grabbing at him or her, that doesn't work. So now let go. But not let go like pushing him to the other side of the room, but letting him be. So letting him be him, letting her be her, letting you be you, and diving in to the pure joy of intimacy, diving into that love, into the emotions, into the passion, into the gratitude, into the happiness, into the joy, diving in to what it means to be a human living in a body with other humans who have bodies, to fully and deeply experience love. That's what we're talking about tonight.
What a hot topic. So please, Susan, explain to us the first aspect of love that the Buddha actually describes.
So the first one is called Maitri. It's the intention and capacity to offer joy and happiness. And what's interesting about this is it's not what you feel like giving. You know, there are people who give you Christmas gifts that they think you should like. Okay, this is an example of why that doesn't work. So you don't give somebody the sex you think they should enjoy. You don't take people to the restaurant you think they should enjoy. You don't take them on the vacation that you think they should enjoy, though Gigi and I have a friend who finally admitted to her husband that she hated every single vacation he ever took her on. Remember? That was like so shocking. Like we were shocked to hear it, but she was, finally ready to explode. She didn't have the training and the skills to express her preferences all those years. But bottom line, if he thought he was loving her, in fact, he wasn't, because he never did a reality check. He never said, do you enjoy beach vacations? Do you love lying on the beach in the sun the way that I do? Do you love being on the beach with me and only talking to me at all of these resorts for a month at a time and just deeply delving into knowing each other more and more and better and better and better. And if he'd been able to ask that, she would have said, I hate it and I don't want any part of it. I'd rather stay home. But he never did. And that's what Maitri is about. The joy and the contribution to the person of what they need. And you being able to enjoy giving. Because you give a Christmas gift or a birthday gift that the recipient will love. Don't give them the gift that you think they should love. And that's the message here.
Perfectly put. So what does it really mean to actually deeply observe what makes somebody else happy? I mean, is this about the needless that you help us with?
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's pure observation. That's what I do with my clients, and of course that's what I teach my clients to do with their lovers, their would-be lovers, their family, their friends, their coworkers, their bosses. How to deeply understand. And I use Herman Brain Dominance, the 4 different quadrants, and the needs list from that, as well as the needs list from Marshall Rosenberg and Nonviolent Communication. And I have combination needs lists that if you find this interesting, then you want to email me and ask for those lists. Because understanding what people need is the beginning, and in a positive way, you're profiling them, but positively. And when you understand that this is what they need, then you can only begin to provide those needs. Only begin to. And the show that we did 2 weeks ago, which was about the 19 domains of a successful marriage, where you and your partner are discussing what does great sex look like, discussing what does monogamy look like, discussing all the different aspects of mutuality. What does it look like to have children together? What does it look like to raise children together? This is all about your observation, understanding your partner's needs, understanding your own needs, and coming up with strategies so that everybody's needs get met.
That's so heart-touching. We all want that, don't we? I mean, at least you can have good intentions.
We all do. We have intentions. Yeah. Now what?
So where does the second form of love fit? Let's say in a friendship as love.
I have always believed that friendship is at the root of love. I've always, even in the most romantic, passionate, ecstatic relationship that you could ever have. And I was thrilled to see that the Buddha said this, long time before I came up with the idea. So yes, the true meaning of Maitri, which was the first aspect of love, is friendship. There has to be a deep level of friendship, which is compassion, certainly respect, caring, intimacy, understanding, listening, speaking our own truth. All of those things are the deepest levels of friendship. And then when you add passion to that, when you add fun to that, when you add to that how thrilling it is. It's just thrilling. At every level becomes like another story on the skyscraper. It just becomes so thrilling. But remember that you can't build a skyscraper on quicksand. You have to build a skyscraper on an absolutely stable base and slab. And that is where friendship fits.
I love that. That foundation first. Now, what about the third form? When someone is in pain and we need to offer compassion and empathy.
Yeah, and it's, people have said that men in America, in the West, have a tendency to want to get, their fix-it kits out, their toolkits. Where can I fix it? Oh, you have a plumbing problem? I got plumbing tools. You've got this problem? Oh, I'll go up on the roof. This is exactly the opposite of what the Buddha teaches. So it's about being present, as Marshall would say, being present with somebody's pain. If you've ever broken up with somebody whose heart was broken as a result, your ability to be present with that person, much in the same way as a parent needs to be present with that child who has hurt themselves, fallen down, Even the parent who has inadvertently injured the child wasn't thinking, and the child was there, and boom. Now, the parent has caused the pain, and the parent has to be the one to comfort the child about the pain. That's what we're talking about here. Because friendship is the base. To be able to communicate with someone in such a way, it isn't going to work for me. It doesn't work for me. I know you feel hopeful that we could spend the rest of our life together. I know this is what you think you want. I wish that I wanted it to. Or I wish I could give you what you want. And everyone has been in this situation on both sides of it at some point, at some point. And I'm just thinking about back to when I was 15 and having to break up with somebody, and it was awful. It was just awful. And so I do teach people how to do this in the least painful, in a non-destructive manner. And if you're a compassionate person, then like me, a long time later, 50 years later, I can still remember when, I closed my parents' front door on Randy at the end of this conversation, and Randy went back to prep school, and it was not pretty. It was terrible. It was a terrible thing. But, you have to be there with someone's pain, whether you created or you didn't. You have to be there, and out of that compassion, you want to make sure that you head these things off quickly. The sooner you know, the sooner you need to step aside.
Boy, being perfectly honest and open with that caring, of course. Now, I know we become more deeply involved in life when we can allow things to happen without really being focused just on the outcome. And we need to really have that compassion for the other person. And so it's just a sense of being conscientious to their pain. So how do we, is there more to say about this?
Always. There's always more to say. You're asking me if there's more to say? So when I was going through that terrible life-threatening divorce that you guys have heard about, I realized that one of the most crucial parts for me or anyone going through trauma is at some point in each day to stand in your pain. That means to feel it, to be present with it, to really allow it to wash over you and not shrink from it. The only way to get through pain is to feel pain. If you don't allow yourself to feel pain, you're going to be avoiding life for the rest of your life to attempt to avoid that pain. People come to me, they're 40 pounds overweight, they're loaded with addictions, or they're dead, or they're in dead relationships, or they're not in relationships, or they have wars going on with people in their life. Terrible, terrible things, because something painful occurred, could be 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And because they were too afraid to stand in their pain, they didn't have the training that I had, they don't have the training that I offer now, they don't know what to do. And so I've gotten people through the most excruciating kind of pain in 3 days, mostly in 1 day. So if you are listening to this and you yourself has been through a deeply painful, terrifying, heartbreaking trauma, please take the opportunity of the free hour that I offer, and we'll get you through it, and then you'll have your life back.
I love that. I know you're determined and you follow through on healing people's deepest wounds. I love that. Now, becoming detached from the outcome, let's say in a love affair that sounds impossible, let's explore when you really love somebody, how do you handle that?
You have to be in a state of, and don't scream when you hear me say this, you have to be in a state of joy and gratitude for what you have, for the feeling of love, not the possession of the loved object, for the feeling of love. To be able to feel love is the gift. It is the greatest gift. Now, would you prefer to feel it every day till the rest of your life? Who wouldn't? How many people have that? To be able to feel a deep level of love, gratitude, joy. In fact, there is that word, love gratitude. There's a Japanese word, love gratitude. That's what we're talking about here. To feel love, gratitude, joy. Now, what's so beautiful about this, if you do that, not because you're trying to buy love. So obviously this whole show is about don't try to buy love. You'll fall in and out of that moment, but wake yourself up and stop. If you understand that you can't buy love, being present in the joy, gratitude, love is what makes you very attractive anyway. So if you can accomplish the things we're talking about here, you have that much more of a chance, because wouldn't you rather be with someone like this than one of those dead people? Wouldn't you rather be with someone like this, who's in joy no matter what you do, who's in peace no matter what you do? Maybe not 24/7 because you're human, but someone who is self-soothing, who has skills and tools, and who, like Gigi and me, can bring yourself back. Bring yourself back. Be responsible. Don't be a victim.
I like to be in the space where I feel a very calm delight. Absolutely. Now, if this question was a little complicated, there is one that's truly painful. And so please explain how to really feel that gratitude and even the joy in the face of disappointment or even horrific pain in any love relationship. Oh my.
Well, thank God I teach self-empathy. Thank God I teach the 4 questions of inquiry. Thank God you all know about Mary at O Vitamin Pro and different supplements to boost serotonin and dopamine and endorphins. Thank God there are all these other tools and skills, like the virtual reality skill and all these other skills. Because let me tell you, you're gonna need them. If you let yourself love in the fullness of time, one of you's going to die. One of you will probably die first. Neither option is attractive. So this is so crucial. To be able to be present for the beloved, for every minute of his life, because you love him so much. You want to give him that gift. You want that. Even though you know, what does that mean? That means he will not be present for you, or she will not be present for you. If you're a woman, then as you get older, you face the reality that not that many men make it into their late 90s, though some do. So you have an additional job to do everything you can to make sure that your beloved is healthiest, happiest, and has the greatest longevity. But the bottom line is you managing your mind. And these tools and skills are how you do it.
Very nice, absolutely. No matter what we're going through, suffering, joy, whatever it is. And yeah, us first. Now, what about the most painful part of letting go when you actually have to say goodbye for any of the reasons? How about death, including death?
Well, love is eternal. So if you believe you love her, if you believe you love him, settle down. It's not going anywhere. You know, my best friend died some years ago, and so the love doesn't die. It doesn't matter whether it's the best friend or the former fiance who died a few years earlier. Love is love, and love is eternal. And I believe in reincarnation, and I've seen other lifetimes. I've seen many, many other lifetimes Whether it's true or imaginary, I have no idea, no way of proving it now. I can just say that of the 7 or 8 people that I've been very close to who've died, I've received a message from each one of them, 5, 6 days after their death, and the messages were all different. And so the messages were something consistent with who they were. And in the case of my Uncle Marvin, what was fascinating is his widow didn't get a message. His kids didn't get a message. I don't know anyone else who got a message. The message came to me because I would imagine he knew, because he knew me so well, that I would be the one who could hear it. I would be the one who would listen. And that's why all of these people, I believe, did give me messages. But the bottom line is it's easy for me to believe that love is eternal because I've had these experiences. You want to ask for them. You want to learn how to connect more intimately with the divine for the peace that it can bring you, for the joy that it can bring you. Because loving someone with all your heart who dies, and then knowing what I've said to you, well, love is eternal. You don't get to turn off the spigot just because you feel like it. But the person doesn't have a body anymore, so there's no point in mooning around the house. It's not like a boyfriend who's, breaking up for the weekend. This is someone who's gone. Now you have to take on a new direction with your life.
So how can we cope and even find choices and when someone we love actually finds happiness without us?
Well, they don't really. If you live long enough, you find out they didn't. But in the moment, you could really have some very dire thoughts about harming somebody, you or them, right? Oh my God, so painful. Jealousy is anger and fear. It's not love. The minute you go into what I just demonstrated, you know you're not in love. In that moment, you're in fear and anger. And I will say, so many examples of my own experience and all my clients telling you that those people who went off elsewhere didn't make better choices. They made the choices they were capable of making. They didn't make better choices. They didn't end up happier. They didn't end up happy. There are very few examples, I can't think of one at the moment, of someone who was deeply loved, truly deeply loved, with all the heart of the lover, and who didn't accept that love and went elsewhere, and who had a happy ending. I don't know anybody who did. They may have gone towards somebody they preferred for different reasons, which is fair enough, but that quality of love is so rare. It's so rare. And if you find it, you really want to think about 10 times before you turn it down. So where are you going to find it again?
Absolutely. That reminds me of the favorite movie of mine, Pretty Woman, where she says, he's going to love me so much, he's never going to let me go. And that did happen. Of course, that was Hollywood. Regardless, the point is the same.
Well, Richard Gere has apologized for that role. He's apologized for it because it's destroyed people's lives, yes. They didn't wake up to the reality that it was Hollywood,
There
Hollywood.
you go.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites, a romantic
It's very
movie.
sweet.
Happy
Very,
ending.
very sweet. Yes, of course.
So, Susan, how does even mindfulness, the fourth element of true love, how does that really work?
It's called upeksha, and this equanimity of looking out over the whole situation. I often say to clients when they ask me, how did I know that? So imagine there's a tree, there's a 100-foot pine tree, and you're at the base of the pine tree, and I'm at the tippy top at 100 feet. Don't I see more about what's going on than you do? Well, of course. Okay, now I'm coaching you. I'm teaching you. You're climbing up 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet. Now look out, 30 feet. What do you see that you didn't see when you were at the base of the pine tree? And so that's the process of the coaching program that I offer, As you learn new distinctions, as you have new awarenesses, as you become more present with what is, then you have equanimity. So you see that this partner who you just wanted. You know, you just wanted him or her, right? Like that. You can feel that way sometimes, right? You know, just take a bite out of it. It's so cute. But the truth is, maybe now you're looking and you're seeing, or he or she is looking and seeing, is it a match? Is it a match? You don't know unless you experience it. You know, a match is not an idea about the other person. A match is being fully present with that other person who's fully present with you and really seeing what is going on, you know? Is it two people who have similar desires and needs? Is what you call wonderful what she calls wonderful or what he calls wonderful? That's really important. And again, if you do all the other things that we've talked about, which is figuring out what he or she needs, giving them that, not some other strange idea you have, then the relationship thrives and it becomes more and more beautiful. But only with equanimity can you look out over the scene and really understand.
Beautifully put, Susan. And now this is going to be a hot little clip that you're going to, I'm sure, enjoy. This is sex in a successful marriage. We'll be right back for more. I know that you started with this hot topic, sex. And can you explain that? Actually, we know how much time and energy the people spend on sex, both inside and outside of marriage. Please help us understand.
Well, this is the only domain where you cannot have the help of anybody else besides your spouse if you're in a monogamous relationship. And since most Americans claim they want monogamy, most of them don't always have it, but they claim that this is really important. So you have got to pick that partner who takes your breath away, gives you butterflies in your stomach. That's not all you need to look for. You need to look for a lot of stability and respect and companionship and all these other 19 things we're talking about. Except if the butterflies aren't there, if the chemistry isn't there, don't bother. Because you have to settle for mediocrity in a lot of areas of life. Don't settle for mediocrity in sex, because mediocre sex is terrible sex, and you will get yourself out of there, or your partner will leave you behind. So be very, very careful about this. Be practical and go for the gold ring when it comes to sex.
Now, what is the second question on your list? I'm curious. This is going to be, I'm guessing, about monogamy and how important that is in a marriage. And let's say, please explain to us why this is huge.
Well, first of all, that would be breaking your marriage vows, and you don't want to do that if you really believe you have a marriage worth saving. This is an important, really, point. If you've got everything that you want in your relationship and you want monogamy, then you better make sure you have fabulous sex. You're not going to have monogamy, you're not going to have a marriage if you don't have fabulous sex. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to talk to your partner about it, if you don't know how to motivate your partner about it, and I mean this at any age, at any phase in the marriage, then call me, because I've helped, lots and lots of clients get through this. But the problem with the lack of monogamy, the serious problem, is if you are one of two, and each of you is sleeping with somebody else, then you're giving your energy to those other people, who are then giving their energy theoretically to other people, not just bringing it back to you. It wouldn't be so bad or problematic if each of you is having sex with someone else, and they're only having sex with you, and then they give you back your energy, and then you give back the energy to the partner by having sex with the partner. So theoretically, if there were 4 of you in bed, it would not be so terrible, or even 3 of you in bed. But what normally happens is, after a while, those people that you're having sex with become disgusted and discouraged, and they move on, and then you find more people to have sex with, and it's just a diminution of energy. That's the real problem there. You don't have that yin-yang, where you're one and you're merging, and it's becoming stronger and stronger over time, and more wonderful and more delicious. So that's why if you're in a monogamous relationship, you want to make it a fabulous relationship. Otherwise, you end up with nothing.
Okay, that really makes sense, Susan. And do you mean old-fashioned morality or something different? I bet it's the later.
Well, when we're talking about morality, it is whatever you believe is important. So it isn't about what your parents thought was important. I don't ascribe to believing what your church believes just because your church believes it. I believe that it is essential for you to be in touch with what you believe is right for you. What do you think is right for you and your family? And you and your partner have to be on the same page with that. It's difficult even in the smallest detail where one person is a vegetarian and the other one isn't. You have huge wars over that. So being on the same page with each other, understanding what you believe is your sense of morality, your ethos, what you believe a human being stands for, this is something that you need to share. And you can't have a partner who just gives it lip service. They have to be on the same page with you.
That communication factor. Okay, but isn't sex and monogamy, isn't that about love too?
Well, you know, love, according to Marshall Rosenberg, and you studied him as well, and nonviolent communication, love is a word that just means needs met. So I love you if you meet enough of my needs. I don't love you if you don't meet enough of my needs, but you could meet more of them later. So Marshall did a very famous thing where he would say to somebody, just keep asking me if I love you, and I'll give you different answers and just, go along with it. So they would be in front of the room and somebody would say, Marshall, do you love me? And he would say, not right now, but ask me later. And then she would say, Marshall, do you love me? And he would say, yes, right now I do. I do love you right now. So he had a very big emphasis on authenticity. Very big emphasis on being in the now, being in the moment. He had a very strong Buddhist, side to him that he didn't speak about, but everything that he was demonstrating was Buddhist. So being in the now means I love you right now because you meet enough of my needs. Doesn't mean I'm going to do something stupid and run away. It's just I may not be in touch with that love in the moment. And according to Marshall, and the same thing's true for you, whoever you might be. You're doing it too, even though you may try to put yourself into the bed of Christus and say, oh, I do love you, I'm always loving you, I eternally love you. Usually there's a lie in there someplace. And it's better to tell the truth. It's better to tell the truth. It's better to be able to hear your partner tell the truth. It's better to be able to understand this. Believe me, I've been through this myself a bunch of times. And it's much more alive and much more real if you can authentically love and authentically say, not right now, but try me in another 20 minutes.
Wonderful information, Susan. It really is.
It's scary, right?
That. Yeah.
Scary.
What Marshall has to say, we just really being present in the moment. How honest and truthful can that be? Ask me a little later. Anything's possible.
Yeah, you hope you don't have somebody with you who's got OCD who's going to ask you every 30 seconds. What about now? What about now? What about now?
Like now it's never.
Like the stalker, right? Yeah.
Okay, well, let's explore this question. We have a lot of ground to cover here. So why is it that really cleaning isn't love, even though almost anyone you ever meet or know says that they're in love? And is cleaning what when their needs aren't being met?
So if anyone has ever tried to hold on to you and grab onto you, you hated it, right? I mean, you hated it. It was really awful. In fact, it was so unpleasant, I would imagine, for each of you, that it colored for you the possibility of any future with that person. I wrote an article many years ago called, "Are You a Bunny Underfoot?" And I had had an experience with somebody who was very much in demand in Santa Barbara. So when he asked me out, I accepted the date because everybody raved on and on about him. And he's a sweet, sweet guy and a bunny underfoot. And I had to very sweetly and calmly talk to him about this because he was quite fascinated with me. And I just saw this behavior that was impossible. I mean, it couldn't work with me and it couldn't work with anybody. It's that clinging, which is fear. So clinging isn't love, it's fear. And if you feel so much fear, then you're with the wrong partner. Either you're with the wrong partner because there's no energetic balance between you, which doesn't mean either of you is bad or wrong, it just means that the energy isn't right. Or because maybe you're a very sensitive person and your partner's not. You may be very empathetic and she or he may not be. So many reasons it's not a match. And clinging is not going to make it a match. So that's the thing to think about. Because the more that we get angry and demand, that doesn't work. The more we're frightened and we cling, it doesn't work. The more we're angry and we're jealous. So none of these behaviors work. So just drop them instantaneously.
And sometimes that can be challenging to do when you want what you want. But great information for us to remember. Now, what are the three components to true love that must be present and that we have to remember that this is indeed a practice? No one is ever perfect at this.
And luckily, they're the three that we spoke about already. So the first is compassion. So having true empathy for yourself and your needs, and having true empathy for the beloved and his or her needs. Then to be able to be present in joy. Because there is no love if it's drudgery. There's no love if it's a to-do list. There's no love if it's constantly harping on what isn't working. So compassion, joy, and then this component of equanimity, where you're able to have an overview of the situation as it is and see both sides. So the description that Thich Nhat Hanh gives is of the mother who has more than one child. She has to be able to consider the needs of all her children simultaneously. She has to be able to look at how all their needs can be met. And in the solution part of the 6-part solution, and you guys all know what that is, so when you get to the solution, you're only looking for a solution that works for both of you. Or as a mediator, I'm looking for a solution that works for them, whoever they may be. Thank you, Fred. And it's really, really crucial. So compassion, joy, and equanimity.
Very nice. Really, those are excellent practices and worthy of learning for lifelong happiness. Now, so finally, can you describe for us, Susan, how we rise above the typical love affairs that we can, let's say, see that burn out, destroy themselves, and just don't last?
There's a quality of presence that we need to bring to any relationship where we're just present and there's no struggle there. So you hear something you like, it's easy. You hear something you don't like so much, you still have to be present in that effortless state of love. Think about the quality that you're loving in that partner, in the moment. Don't think about the disappointment. So think about the quality that you love, not the disappointment. Think about the quality you love and how good it makes you feel. Don't think about the goal you haven't reached. Or think about the enjoy the ride aspect of it. Enjoy the ride woke me up when I was having lunch with my friends Nicole and Lisa. And we were talking, and we were just having a fabulous time. And Lisa looks at me and she says, well, Susan, enjoy the ride. And it was so, so perfect, because that's how you do it. You remember that life is a ride. Life is an adventure. And if you were going to Vegas and somebody said you're going to win every single game you play in Vegas, you wouldn't go back. And that's an example from the EST training so many years ago. So it is this agreement, this understanding we have that we don't know how it's going to turn out. And that's what is part of the joy and the thrill and the excitement. So enjoy the ride.
I love it. And this is quite a journey. There's no doubt about it. What can you do if you are already in, let's say, a marriage or a long-term relationship, and now you realize it isn't conscientious and it isn't alive?
Conscious.
Thank you. The people aren't conscientious. And anyhow, it isn't alive and growing and thriving. Then what?
Well, one of you has to wake up. The reason the relationship is not alive is that you're both asleep. So the first step, if you're having this awareness, you're watching this show and you're going, oh my God, my husband and I haven't had fun together in a year, or my husband and I haven't this, or my wife and I can't remember why I married him, or whatever it is. You just woke up. In this moment, you just woke up. Now you want to learn how to wake up and stay awake. You want to learn the 6-part conversation, how to motivate and inspire your partner back to life. And if that partner cannot be in life with you, then motivate and inspire that partner to have his or her own life without you. Because life is the most precious gift there is. And there isn't that much time to enjoy it. Even if you're 20 years old and you're listening, Gigi and I can remember when we're 20, and it was like a minute ago.
Yes.
It went so fast, you can't even believe it. And if you're not 20 anymore, then you know, you've got, boom, it's here now. Grab it. It's fabulous. Grab it. Learn this. Enjoy it.
Great advice. Nobody can argue with that. That's ultimately where we all want to be at. So much joy, it just bubbles out of us. Now, what is the cost of trying to control your lover and his ability to love you?
Well, I think we only have a minute left.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. The cost is the relationship dies. So if you want a relationship that's alive, do what we've been talking about tonight. Email me, ask for a transcript of the article, and I'll send it, and then you'll read it 10, 15, 20 times, watch the show 10 times, and you'll begin to implement these. And your life will be different.
Yes, how encouraging is that? So if you are indeed looking for that lifelong love and the deepest levels of intimacy, please go ahead and call Susan. She's inviting everyone to for that amazing free 1-hour telephone coaching session. And this is really a gift. And if you actually do exactly what she says, you can really have some fast results. And so with that being said, it's like a guarantee. If not, I know that she's determined to get you to that place where it will happen. So that's an important factor as well. You don't get that with all your guarantees in life, right?
No.
She's determined.
Yes.